This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to talk about, I suppose, a kind of style of thinking. An easy way. I don't know whose quote this was. Maybe I don't know, Einstein, maybe. But this idea that the thinking that took you into the problem is not going to be the thinking that basically gets you out of the problem, right? So the thinking that created the problem is not going to be the thinking that gives you the solution. And I want to extend this a bit further today and look at the fact that there's things that worked for you when you were younger, maybe things that got you through college. However, because they worked, we kind of were rewarded by usually feel-good emotions, so to speak, chemicals being released. And it's like a feedback system to go, we should do that again. And so what happens later on in life is that sometimes that doesn't work. We run the same pattern, we take the same skill set and behavioral traits that led success, like let's say through schooling or through sport, and then we try and apply those to other areas of life later on, because usually it's all we know because we've done it so long, so well for so long. The problem is though is that when we lack flexibility in our behaviors and the way that we see things, the way that we choose to think about things, when we lack that, we often are lacking a complete experience of reality that is on offer there, because we're so stuck in the way things worked in the past, thinking that they're always going to work that way. What reality deserves is a response granted from that actual moment. What I mean by that is every single moment deserves a unique response. That doesn't mean a different response. It means a response based on that moment. And often we go, well, I got hurt once, I got hurt again, I got hurt again, so obviously I'm going to, really protect myself so I don't get hurt again. It's like, that's the ultimate pain, isn't it? If I go for a relationship and I get hurt, and then I go to another relationship and get hurt again, and then I go into another relationship, I get hurt, I'm like, fuck it, I'm not doing that again. And then choosing to never learn how to really start and have a relationship, how to be a good partner, right? And how to choose a good partner, then that's the ultimate pain, because although it's something that I want, it's something that I'm actually not giving myself permission, because I don't want to feel the short-term pain, because I keep on making potentially the same mistake. But you see, the thinking that created that problem is not going to be the thinking that gives me a solution. I have to be able to start to see things from different perspectives. And the easiest way to do this is to first see your first-person perspective, your perspective on the situation. What you can start to do then is start to practice what the situation may look like from their perspective. And literally move. If you're doing this as an exercise, literally move, unless you're in your car driving or something, and you would start to go, okay, this is the problem I have, and this is why it annoys me, this is why it frustrates me, this is the situation, and it involves another person, say. And then step into let's call it another box. And you're going to look at the situation from their perspective and try and take on as much as you can from their perspective, and really think about their values and everything associated with that, not your values. Sometimes people think they go, I've really taken on this other person's perspective, but they haven't. What they've done is looked at the other person's situation based on their perspective. I remember talking to a friend once, and they go, this must really suck for you because, and they inserted a value, right? Inserted part of the situation that they could see, but that was their value based on my situation. What they brought up, I didn't give a fuck about. I'm like, I don't really care about that. But they go, yeah, it must be really hard because of X. And I think I had to do, at the time, I had something to do with money or wasting time or whatever, but that wasn't what frustrated me about the situation. But this person's attempting to put themselves into my shoes, but they're still looking through their value set, through their lenses. So I'm really challenging you here to step into a second person perspective, step into the other person's perspective, whilst attempting to put on their values and their lens, their worldview, right? And what comes up for you during that, when you do that? What can you see differently? What can you see now that you didn't see before? What are some things there that maybe you're missing that they can see, right? The next thing to do from here would actually step into third person perspective. Now, a third person perspective would be literally stepping back and watching, for example, the dialogue or the situation, right? So if I'm having a conversation with a client, let's say the client's frustrating me on the gym floor. Let's just make something up. No clients frustrate me. Right? So I'm there and I'm frustrated with them. And they're kind of frustrated with me, and I step into their shoes and I'm like, oh, actually, you know what? I can see a few things here that maybe I'm not doing or I'm not giving enough time for. That's fair enough. That's kind of interesting. And you know, I can also see that from here I can look at myself and go, well, that person's trying as well. So we're both kind of trying. That's interesting as well. And then stepping in a third person perspective and looking at the situation, what we can see from that, maybe, you know, using this example, I could probably start to see that there's two people that when they are butting heads, even though they're kind of agreeing with each other, they ignore the fact there's everyone else in the room, which is kind of awkward for everyone else. And so from that perspective, from third person perspective, it's like, wow, I didn't actually realize that this sort of frustration of the complaining or whatever it may be that we're kind of butting heads about is actually impacting everyone else in the room because we can't agree on something because we're both maybe too proud. Oh, wow, fuck, I never seen that before. So practice stepping in a third person perspective, which is somebody observing the situation that you're frustrated with, right? And you can actually think of an actual person that's obviously maybe on the outskirts of the issue. And then fourth person's perspective is really stepping out. Hey, it's stepping right out and seeing a really large worldview. So you can imagine it going first person through my eyes, second person through the other eyes of someone else, third person through the eyes of somebody observing it all, and then fourth person sort of steps back and it's almost like they're in the sky, right? They're in a bird just looking at it, realizing that this argument is almost like just redundant. There's no value in it. They're arguing over something that won't matter in the next couple of years, maybe not even the next couple of minutes, right? Maybe even that, or at least in the next couple of days. And what happens is they're so embedded in this idea of being right, but it's not about being right, right? It's not about it's not about the truth. It's about being right, and that's ego, right? So whereas bringing forward something to a conversation, looking for the truth is very different than looking for being right. And so the egoic structure is holding on to that individual at that point. When you step back and look at it from fourth person perspective, you can really start to see that, hang on a sec, this is fucking silly, potentially, and it doesn't matter in the long run, and I'm actually wasting parts of my life on this. Right. Why am I giving this my energy and my power? And then I leave work and I go and think about it as well. Okay, really interesting perspective. So that's one of the ways that we can really start to use different worldviews and use an actual exercise to practice seeing things through a different lens. Practice actually going, what is it that I'm potentially missing here that somebody else could potentially see, that I can't? And when we do that, we start to be able to get, of course, better questions that yield better answers, more resourceful answers, because now I've got more resources, right? Now I can see it from different points of view. And the value of that becomes phenomenal because I stop giving weight to every single moment as if my fucking life depends on it, or if every person's right or wrong or anything along those lines. And I start to understand that it's just a fucking process. And in fact, we're all right. The way that I see it is right. The way that the person I'm, communicating with is seeing it is right. But we're all incomplete. There's things that we're missing. It's right and incomplete. And when we continue to integrate different worldviews and a broader worldview, we start to see more information, right? We start to be more, awake to the whole situation in the unfolding of the universe at that point in time, which is kind of like, fuck, this is really redundant. It's not that important, potentially. It's, I'm being broad there. Can you tell? But team, that's kind of it for me today. I really hope you got something out of this podcast. I hope that was a useful exercise for you. Of course, if you haven't already, there's still a few early bird tickets for the Mood Prep Seminar up in Sydney, but they are selling out. I'm only selling 5 of them, and there's only a couple left available anyway. So if you are thinking about coming along, it's $397 for the 2 days. I had someone call me today and ask me, like, what is it? What am I going to go through? I'm going to expand on that again tomorrow, but basically we're going to go through different Enneagram typologies, which is personality typologies, and really break down what people act like in stress and security and how that really impacts the way they, once again, their worldview. We're going to go through levels of awareness and similar to what I spoke about just then, as well as a heap of different thinking patterns and give people strategies and insights, right? Insights, think about the word, into how they can take all that information, apply it to their life, and start getting the fucking results that they actually deserve to and want to, as opposed to continually headbutting themselves against the wall that they built, which is pretty funny. Team, on that note, I am done. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, Facebook community, it's online. Check it out. It's on Facebook, the Mood Prep community, whatever. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you guys soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.